Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and those of you still on the fence, welcome back to another episode of Derailed, courtesy of Archaic Skids. I'm, of course, your host, Archaic Skids, and we have my very failed vice presidential candidate, Nick Ashley, with us. What's up, my brother? How you doing?
Oh, I'm all right, man. I've had an okay day, but it's improved now that I get to come on a show with a fellow traveler for sure, man.
Nice, man. We were actually just discussing traveling, so I guess let's go into that. You are a world traveler. You like to look around.
Not particularly, man. I have been to Toronto. Actually, now that I'm talking about it, I've probably been more places than most people.
Right.
I've been to Toronto whenever I was in high school. It was a group thing for like an honor student group thing that we did. And then with the same group, we went to Europe. I know it's aggravating when people just say Europe, so I'm elaborate. We went to, and this is a mistake, by the way. If you ever go to some place where there's a lot of small countries, don't do what we did and go to one place and spend your time there if you got a week or so. What we did was we went to London, and then for like 2 days, and then took the channel, the train underneath the English Channel to France, and then we hung out in Paris for a couple days, and then we trained to Florence, Italy, and then Florence for 1 day, and then Rome for another like 2 days, and then went back home. It was exhausting. Like, so the flight was terrible.
And you don't have any time.
Yeah, it was cool to see all the stuff, but it was definitely a mistake to do that all at one time. You kind of got to focus on one area for the time you're going to be there. It's Toronto was a better trip because I was like 5 days of just Toronto.
Right. Yeah, you need a week for everywhere. That was not exactly my experience, but we were going for different reasons. And Europe was not really in the ideology of where I was going and what I was doing. When the U.S. military pays for your plane ticket, you go to some shitty places in the world. But because of that, like, and I look at it that you've done some traveling, and one of the things that I've noticed, and now granted, based on what you just said there, your travels don't really work with my argument, but I'm going to make them anyway. The majority of Americans, they like to say like, oh man, America is this fucking terrible place. It's one of the worst, most racist countries in the history of ever. And I'm like, all right, bitch, you've obviously never been outside of America, because I could take you some places in the world that would like melt your skin.
Yeah. I haven't been many places. I've been to more places outside of America than I have inside of America, oddly enough. But inside of America, I've never had hundreds of people trying to pickpocket me or trying to get me to, because then the biggest area was in Paris, where this kind of stuff was happening. Whenever we rode into France on the bus,
gotta like hold your wallet, like, don't
In fact, what they did was they gave us all these like lanyard wallets, so you'd wear it around your neck, tuck it into your shirt, and that's where you would put your passport, all your money, and whatever else you had on you. Everything else you leave at home. Ladies, don't carry a purse. Just keep this little lanyard wallet on you.
Yeah, because it will steal that shit in a heartbeat.
I bumped into a guy on one of the subways, and he like immediately checked all of his pockets. And it was a complete innocent, like, oops, excuse me. And he's like as I turned and saw him walking away, he checked all of his pockets and made sure he still had all of his shit. I've never seen that in America. Also, whenever we rode in, I know there's some really bad areas. Like if you go to San Francisco, which I've never been, the whole thing about there being human feces all over the street, all over the sidewalks.
That's for real, bro.
Yeah, and trash and the homeless encampments. I've never seen that in person outside of when we were in France. Whenever we were busing through because there was a train station that we went to, and to ride the bus to go to the Eiffel Tower, I believe is what it was. You had to go through a really, really, really bad area, and there was homeless. There was piles of garbage. I had never seen anything like that in my life. And then also at the Eiffel Tower, they had dozens of people telling you, hey, could you sign this petition? The petition says something about like some rights for deaf people. But what it is they're trying to get you distracted so they can take whatever you have in your pockets and you'll never notice it.
Yeah. there's some interesting shit that happens over there in those environments. One of the things is with at least with us, we were educated as to what was going to take place in any particular circumstance situation when you're in those particular environments. Now, granted, you also get there and they're like, yeah, you're not allowed to leave like the airport. So, you know, like, you know, you think, oh man, this is great. I get to visit, you know, Paris or whatever. And you're like, no, you don't. You have to come back on your own time, so to speak. But so, as far as America goes, what travel wise in America in your particular life, where have you been, and do you have a specific spot you like the most?
Okay, so now that I'm actually thinking about it, I probably have been to more places in America. But anyway, where I have been, so I'm from Louisiana and we currently live in Georgia. So traveling to Georgia, you know, that's living in a different area is one thing. I've been to Houston and Austin, Texas. Houston once for hanging out with a cousin of my wife's, and we went to some Astros games. And then another time we went there to go see a comedy show because Houston is about a 4-hour drive from where I grew up. So that's a day trip. Austin for Rangers baseball game. Been to Philadelphia. That's where my wife and I went on honeymoon.
Why?
Because we're both history nerds.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really cool. I don't regret it. It was a great place to go. And they were everybody that we told that we were there for that. They were like, really? We even got like free drinks at a bar one time because they were like, I can't believe you came to Philadelphia for this, and they gave us free drinks. They gave us free stuff at the hotel too. That was pretty cool. But anyway, been to Tennessee to go to Lynchburg, Tennessee to go to the Jack Daniel's distillery, which that was whenever I was like 13. So I don't remember a whole lot, but it was cool from what I remember. Right. Been to Florida, been to most recently the Villages, which is about Tampa. We went to Tampa Bay, and then we went to the zoo there, and then that was for I don't know if you knew this happened recently, but Gene Epstein and Ben Burgess had a debate down there in Florida where not about an hour and a half east of Tampa, I think is about how it is, and that's
I think I heard something about it. Yeah.
Where else have I been? I think that's probably it. Alabama, Mobile to go to the USS Alabama, and Mississippi to go to Biloxi. I think that encompasses everything.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was thinking about it the other day, and I'm like, I've actually been to more countries than states, which is interesting, you know. But granted, also a lot of my travels were paid for by tax dollars, and so there's that. And not for good intentions. So, you know, anyone watching this, don't be like, oh yeah, you got it. No, it's not.
That's how they get
you think it is.
They lie to you.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, you're going to see the world. They don't tell you the worst parts of the world.
That you would never go to on your own time.
Yeah, no. Well, actually, you know what? That's weird because there are some places that you look back at it and you go, you know, that might be interesting to go there. For a different purpose, you know what I mean? And just kind of see the interaction because it's a strange situation. A lot of quote unquote combative countries, and this is leading to something for the audience. A lot of what we are, or what the State Department or the Department of Defense constitutes as combative countries, realistically, they're actually like just very regular. It's like they're as combative as like Alabama is to California.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like if you go there, they're like, you know, basically, I mean, I guess the easiest way to put it is they see you and they're like, oh, he's probably got money. Like, why don't we figure out how we can get some of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's a weird situation. When they know you're there for a dangerous reason, then they're not very nice to you. But when they don't know, you can see the interaction, and they're like, oh yeah, they're just over there trying to peddle their wares, and you know, to them you're just a mark to get some coin from. So there are some countries I've been to that I would probably revisit as just a civilian, just because I think it would be interesting. Not to mention, you can afford private security in those countries for like next to nothing.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like, so for instance, we were discussing in pre-show here, Israel and Palestine, for instance, right? They're obviously they're back at it again because it's been a week or whatever. So it's Tuesday, so they got to go at it. Obviously it's Monday, but it's Tuesday there now, so whatever. But if you go to Palestine just as an individual from America, you can hire an entire security force for like about $1,000 a day.
Damn! Wow.
These are guys that are fucking highly trained and will die to protect you. They're not. It's not a game. Like, they'll literally do it. So it's a weird situation when you put it in perspective of what, like, per se, our security contractors would get paid, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
A piece a day, and that's what they get. That's not what the company charges. But this
I don't know.
the company charges.
I don't know if I'd want to go somewhere where I had to get security though. That seems that's a little bit out of my comfort zone.
Well, I mean, sure, but I mean, if you're not high value, you don't need that.
That's true
You know
too,
what I mean?
isn't it? Yeah, they kind of know what to look for and who to look for. I don't know.
Yeah, so like if you're just a regular and you're just like rolling, they're like, we don't care about that person. Like, it doesn't matter.
But would
You're
it
probably safe.
would it attract attention if you had like bodyguards with you? Would
No,
that be-
they're actually there. It depends on how you do the security protocol. You can either have a highly visible security protocol or you can have an invisible security protocol.
Okay.
So no one even knows they're around you. These guys will just like ghost you and they'll just be around. And if shit gets rowdy, then they'll pop into action,
More like guardian angels.
Essentially, yeah. It's very interesting to watch the operations take place. When you see it from a ground level, you're like, Jesus Christ, these people are really good at what they do, But I mean, it makes sense they would be.
Well, yeah, I would hope.
Like, they've been doing this for God, who knows how long, you know what I mean? And that's one of the things with the we're not going to delve too deep in this, but the Palestine-Israeli conflict is, people go, oh, well, Israel can protect themselves and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, guys, this shit did not start like 50 years ago. This shit's been going on for like 5,000 goddamn years. None of you know what's going on. So knock it off with the nonsense. Like they're both at fault. But Israel would knock their shit off if America had stopped backing them up. Fact.
What do you mean? They would just take them out and that be it?
No, they'd stop.
Oh, they would knock it off. Okay.
Yeah.
I misunderstood what you said.
They would stop trying to expand their borders.
Yeah, I would imagine.
They would stay where they are, because then they could make the argument, we're just defending ourselves. And it would be a hard argument to not be able to, for everyone to go, yeah, okay, that's fair. Right?
Yeah.
But they're not. They're aggressing outward. And then the problem is they go, well, yeah, we're just defending ourselves. No, you're not, dude. Like, you're pushing out. It's like, it's a crazy situation. But most people don't understand the entire conflict, and they don't understand it's not even so much a religious tenet at this point anymore, as much as it is that Israel is an aggressive state pushing outward, trying to grow their borders. I think like Ryan Dawson said it best, like, what would we do if we just were going to set up a white nation in Mexico, right? And then he also made a joke out of it, and he's like, we called it Texas.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Reed Coverdell. Great show, Naturalist Capitalist. Check that out, guys. But anyway, yeah, it was like that's what they're doing over there. And it's problematic, and it sucks to be Ben Shapiro in this situation where you just gotta wear your little Jew hat and tell everyone why they're wrong, but you also are an idiot that are just trying to, and not to mention, most people don't know, is this a religion or is this see, A little troll. He's always there. Little troll.
Hey, Reed, how's it going, man?
But the thing is that it's almost like they don't understand that the American Jews, and this is nothing. I'm not trying to attack anyone in this particular circumstance or anything like that, but it's almost like they cannot admit that the Israeli government and the Jewish people are not the same thing.
Exactly, right.
It's the same as what we have in America, right?
Yeah.
You and I can have a conversation. We're not exactly the same person. We don't agree on everything. There's a bunch of people, especially in the liberty movement, that are way off of each other in a lot of ways. But we can have a conversation. But then our government acts and goes, well, the American people. And I'm like, no, fuck you. Like, it's not the same thing. It doesn't work. So, I don't know. Yeah, well, Reed, someone's got to be an anti-Semite. So I suppose I'll take that torch.
There's two things that I like. I am not up on foreign policy in general, other than some big historical stuff. But a lot of it, there's two things that I consider. One, you have to it all depends on who's doing what we, and I just mean we in a broad sense, like the United States is okay with. So what I mean by that is, would the attitude be different if this was Iran doing it to, I don't know, like Qatar or a smaller state right around that area?
No, dude, we would carpet bomb the shit out of them.
Exactly. And would this be the same if like let's take it further. Let's say Serbia was doing it to Montenegro. The attitude would be different no matter where we are. For some reason with Israel, it gets really, really touchy, more so than probably any other country that would be committing acts of aggression or self-defense, if you want to,
genocide.
Yeah,
sure. Right. Let's go with self-defense.
Right. No. I'm on your page. Believe me, I'm just saying that like in quotes. But you get what I mean, though. Like the attitude is totally different for some reason when it comes to them, and the attitude about the propaganda is so. I'm seeing stuff that's really stressing me out because people are just like obviously falling for it. For example, I don't know if it's Israel, the Twitter handle Israel, but they just tweeted out like a series of tweets that was just rocket emojis.
Yeah.
And it was like, you saw that.
Yeah, what?
I saw that. I was like, what the hell am I looking? And I'm scrolling up, like, and then at the end, it says something like, this is the amount of Israeli citizens or Israeli people that were killed by rockets from Hamas. And I'm just like, oh, really? Because I just saw something that, I just saw videos of literal babies with his head exploded. I know it's complicated, as in I don't know everything that's going on. I don't know everything.
When it goes both directions, for sure.
Yeah. But when I see kids being killed, I have a very averse, visceral reaction to that. And I don't think that the attitude would be the same if it was any other country than Israel. And I don't know why.
It absolutely wouldn't, but I can explain to you why. I think Reed could back me up on this if he's still in the, in the chat there. It's because America was built on Judeo-Christian values, and we still to this day, for whatever reason, have this weird concept that if we don't protect the Jewish people, the rapture comes. And some people want that to happen, and other people want to avoid it by protecting the Israelites, which, I mean, it's a very weird way to run foreign policy. But once something's built in our government, dude, it's very hard to get rid of it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They're very difficult to go and we fucked that up, we failed. You know what I mean?
They can't ever admit they got anything wrong.
No. They're like, well, mistakes were made, and it's like, no, yeah, you were the mistake. But that's why it's 100%. That's like, it's all religious. So when they say separation of church and state, first of all, that's never been a real thing in America.
Right.
That's nonsense that we pull up for. Can we pray in school and whatever? They bring these arguments to the forefront in those situations, but they're not. It's not a real argument, because if it was, then what would all these people be doing? They'd go, well, we got to stop our weird game that we play with Israel because, that is our foreign policy is dictated based on religion, which is really odd. And, especially considering that it doesn't make any sense overall because there's nothing we can do. Like, let's say hypothetically, right? Now Reed would never agree with this because, he thinks it's all nonsensical. But let's say hypothetically that you could get someone like Reed to believe, like, oh, no, like, the rapture's coming, all of that, right? I mean, good luck, but let's say you could. What in God's name makes you think you could stop it?
Yeah.
There's no way to stop it. It is what it is, right? It's going to happen when it happens, and there's no way to stop that nonsense.
For sure.
So I don't know what the fuck we're doing at this point.
Well, I think whenever you couple that with the fact that you have as you've got a giant Israel, this is going to sound weird, but probably not to you. It sounds weird when I say it. It sounds weird to myself when it comes out of my mouth, but Israel's like a giant special interest group. And how are those ever treated? It's a giant special interest group. It really is. It's really weird for me to say that. Like, as I'm hearing myself say it, it sounds strange, but that's kind of what it is.
That's essentially they're a giant lobbyist to Washington.
Yeah, exactly. And that's couple that with the weird religious aspect of it, like you just mentioned, and it's like, good luck.
Well, the worst part is Israel has a bunch of other giant lobbyists on their team, Raytheon, Honeywell, like they're all there. Like, yeah, we want to sell Israel guns,
of course,
and weapons and missiles and rockets. So here's a thought, guys. This is what you do: you send Israel a bunch of money in foreign aid. And Israel give us that money to send them weapons.
Right. Like
it's a fun little circle jerk that we have going on with that tiny ass little country. And I guess I am a Christian but I don't think that we need to be protecting a fucking state that essentially just murders people daily just because they can, and then they call it self-defense. It's ridiculous. That's what we have in our government. I'd like to root that out. So
well, what's strange about it is you can, like, it seems like some libertarians, like some people in our kind of circles, flip completely when it comes to that. Kind of like what I said, why the attitude would change if it was another country. Well, people that were on it from day one, like since 9/11, or since before 9/11, because obviously his American foreign policy didn't start with 9/11, but people that have been good on this stuff from day one, for some reason, falter when it comes to this Israel thing. It's like, well, imagine if it was the United States. You know that we fight them over there so they don't come over here is bullshit. You know that.
Yeah.
And you can understand that. Why can't you understand that what Israel's doing is not self-defense? Like, apply the same principles you do to the U.S. government to the Israeli government. And good libertarians, or otherwise good libertarians, can't. I've seen on Twitter all over the place, otherwise good libertarians falling for the bullshit. And it drives me insane.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things when I've stated this before when they say that, like, oh, well, and I've seen libertarians I respect, anarchists I respect, say, well, I'd rather the fight be on their soil than our soil. And I'm like, these people wear dresses and sandals.
And not even that, though. It's like, obviously, it's better for us, like in a selfish way. It's better that fighting happens elsewhere. But
no, 100%. No, I would absolutely agree on that. And if the fight has to happen, I want it on their soil, not ours.
But we don't have to give missiles. We don't have to supply bombs to either of the parties who are fighting.
Right. And we supply it to both. Well, money.
Right.
Like, we give money to both sides of this conflict, and that's a problem because it's like you're I don't know, what was that movie called? War Dog or something like that with Nicolas Cage, where he was like a weapons dealer and he sold weapons to both sides. Like, that's the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like
Um,
I don't know what TV show it's from, but the guy saying I play both sides, so I always come out on top. It's like
yeah, exactly.
I don't know what it's from, but I've seen that as a GIF or as a picture before.
Yeah. Is that what it's a GIF? A GIF? I never know.
I don't know.
People say it different.
Oh, the pronunciation. Oh, I learned it as GIF. I don't remember where I learned it from, but that's what I learned it as. So that's how I say it.
My bad. My apologies for that. All right, we're gonna switch subjects because
that's cool.
You know,
yeah, I'm
like
fine.
that's a nightmare scenario waiting to happen, and yeah, gross. Let's talk inflation. That's better.
Oh my goodness.
So you've got thoughts. I've seen some thoughts from you on. I mean, we should definitely print more money, don't you think?
Dude, hell yeah. It
up, right?
It does nothing but help the economy. Don't you know this by now? No, if you look, in fact, very topical to both of these, that you could probably read antiwar.com.
Yes.
And that is a Mises Institute sticker.
Nice.
The reason I became like an anarchist, anarcho-capitalist, like anarchist libertarian, whatever you want to define me as, I strongly identify with Austro-libertarianism, and the reason is because learning about Austrian economics and learning from guys like Bob Murphy, learning about Menger and Mises and the OG Austrian economists, that is what really took me from being like a beltway libertarian whenever I was, 21, 22 to where I'm at now, where I'm like a Rothbardian kind of person. And it's from learning Austrian economics and then putting all the pieces together, learning about the business cycle theory and how that you can apply that and to pretty much every economic collapse we've had, and learning. How do I word this? It just learning for one thing that the government doesn't need to be involved in more avenues than I realized. And that's and so a lot of people, like I've seen a lot of like these post-libertarians and post-anarchist types, which like that's fine. I respect you guys and you guys rule, but say stuff about economics not mattering. Well, it matters to me because that's why I'm here. So when I see like, I don't remember who said this. I saw this from somebody. It's like it really sucks to know economics because nobody else does, and it's just like just pain. Like, oh my god, you get a headache every time you see some dumb blue check take on Twitter talking about raising the minimum wage to $20 an hour, or why rising prices is a sign of a healthy economy or an economy in recovery. And it's like, and then talking about we need to keep the interest rate down to keep the stimulus. It's like, oh, and you're just sitting here like, well, yeah, none of that helped before, but it'll help this time.
It'll do the job this time for sure. Like, I mean, everyone else, they just did it wrong.
Yeah, or not enough. Like the 300, and I hate like I really, really, really hate the term stimulus check because the way that it's framed when you say it that way is they're going to print off money, or not even print it because it's all digital now. So they type in numbers on a keyboard, create more money, and just send checks to people. And then whenever they go and spend it to buy groceries or to buy their kid a Christmas gift, that's what stimulates the economy and makes economic growth happen. It's like, it's framed in a way that it's a loaded statement, a stimulus check, and I hate it.
Yeah, this last year we have witnessed the largest wealth transfer in the history of forever. That's no, I mean, that's not even.
It's not an exaggeration. It's true.
No, it's just that people go, well, how did Bezos get so rich? And I'm like, you shut down all the fucking businesses.
Mm-hmm.
His businesses were allowed to operate, and you know what? Here's the thing about Bezos that I'm going to give him a bunch of credit for. We are going to read an ad here in just a minute. But before, I want to give him a bunch of credit. This guy set up a perfect situation where this was like Christmas to Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
This entire situation was absolutely Christmas to Amazon that, you have to stay at your house and you really shouldn't even go anywhere. Everyone's all terrified. Let's just do this thing and you just order things online if you can do it. I mean, could the government help Amazon any more than they just did? Honestly,
for
like
sure.
your thoughts
Right.
on that, and then we'll read the ad.
Well, what I've said recently is like these progressives, they only want big corporations to exist, because you've seen them say, if you can't pay your employees $15 an hour, you don't deserve to run a business and stuff like that. It's like, well, what you're doing is you're literally saying that small businesses who are like somebody just starting out, maybe they want somebody to mop the floors who's in high school, and he's totally fine making $4 an hour to mop floors and fold pizza boxes. You're telling him and the business owner, like say it's a pizza shop, like I say, you're telling them, no, you can't exist. You can't, because you don't have enough money right now. You don't have enough capital. So
you got to pay this guy way too many dollars.
By doing that, in effect, and you apply that to any job, any whatever, and what they're doing is only the companies that can take these hits should be allowed to exist. And who are those? It's the Amazon, it's the Walmart, it's these companies that progressives on the surface they hate, but all of their economic policy prescriptions are the things that keep these giant monoliths afloat.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
It's infuriating.
100%. We're gonna read an ad right quick, and then we will get back to that. Plus, I have some thoughts on what Nick just said. But first things first, we are going to talk about MC Farms and Ranch. 1931, MC was bought during the Great Depression. 4 generations later, they have a new ranch boss in training named Letty, who is an excellent podcast as well called The Letty Show. Letty's Little Slice of Heaven grows mostly wheat, corn, and alfalfa. They also raise Hereford Mamas that are routinely crossed with red or black Angus, aka the Cadillac of steak. Letty did what most children ranchers do and took off after high school. But after health complications with her father, she returned to take on the family farm. Her family saw through the first Great Depression. They were there for your great-grandparents, and with your support, she will be there for you during the next one. Again, that's mcranch.com, mcranch.com. Check them out, ladies and gentlemen. I actually am going to add something to that. She is an exceptional young woman who did not have to do what she did, and she stepped right back into the fold and brought technology into her family business. So you guys definitely check her out. She's got great prices. She's going to give you a good deal. So you just let her know that I sent you, and it'll be all good. Not Nick, though, because Nick looks like a vegan. So
I'm not, I promise. I've been told to look like a lot of things, and most of them have deal with my apparent ethnic ambiguity, which I was unaware of until I exposed myself to it.
I don't even know what that means, but okay.
People have mistaken me for Jewish, Turkish, Arab, Greek, just all that area.
Okay, so just like, oh, he's hairy, so he must be weird.
Yeah, sort of swarthy. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
It's mostly Italian. That's what it is.
I don't have that problem because I'm very white. Like blonde hair, blue, like Aryan white. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I would have survived the Holocaust is what I'm getting at.
Uh-oh. We talked about Israel and the Holocaust in the same show. This is not going to go well. We were talking about your warnings on you know what.
They'll bite me. It's whatever. Speaking of, so you've had some warnings, and by warnings I mean you kind of pushed the limits a few times, and found I guess you found the break point, like where they were like, nope, not you.
Yeah, I guess.
How's that going for you?
Well, I think I got unlucky, is what it is, because. If you're referring to what I think you're referring to as a Twitter ban, and that's I flagged the algorithm by tweeting. See, one thing I want to say is a lot of people got the story wrong because they were assuming I got mass reported via like brigading from one of the bigger like blue-pilled libertarian accounts, and that's not what happened.
I didn't think that's what happened.
Yeah, I was arguing.
I thought you hit the algorithm with that one tweet.
Well, right, yeah, that's what happened. A series of curse words and a C-bomb thrown in. It's immediately right when I hit send. It knocked my account off. But right now I've got a, and then the second I made another one, and I didn't do the proper. I didn't take. Let's just say I didn't take the proper. I don't know if precautions are the right word, but I didn't take the proper measures because I was unfamiliar with how to go about doing it. I changed my name back to Nick Ashley, and literally right when I did it, right when I clicked OK, I went to go to the messages because I'm in a couple of group chats. Nothing was loading. That was it. I was gone.
You gotta wait until they calm down with their little like search. So, like they got, it's like in the Matrix, they got the little guy out there just searching everywhere. You gotta let him like focus on someone else. Like eventually Reed will say something crazy and then he'll be the guy and we can all make fun of him when he gets duped. So that'll be fun. But until that time, like it's whatever. So you've experienced this. Now, I did want to get your take on it. As someone that's you had a lot of followers. I mean, you had
I had 1,774, I think. And I remember that I saw the screenshot that somebody said they had to kill him before he could get the 1,776. But
nice. And then the second time you were up to like 8 again.
I was close to 800, yeah. But that was,
and then you got popped again. But that was your own fault.
Stupid. Yeah, I'm just. Yeah. I don't know how. Yeah, I'm just dumb.
Yeah, but you so someone that like you had a decent following, I suppose. I mean, it's not.
It was bigger than I ever thought it would be, honestly.
Yeah, it's not like a couple grand or whatever. I mean, a couple tens of thousands or whatever. Like. But you were doing all right. You were building, and so as someone that has experienced big tech, going, oh yeah, your speech is mean, or whatever. And this is a fun question for me for libertarians or anarchists. What are your thoughts on that? Like, should there be some kind of a reckoning for these outfits, or is it like, okay, they are perfectly private businesses, leave them alone, let them do whatever they want?
Well, whenever it happened, I went and bought a MAGA hat and started talking about Section 230. No, I'm just kidding. But, well, the thing about it is, and this is what bugs me the most about it, we were talking about this pre-show, is that their rule enforcement is completely arbitrary.
Yes.
And as a libertarian, something that's important is like contract enforcement and contract honoring contracts, Yeah. And I feel like if I sign up for the exact same everybody that goes on Twitter has to sign up for they sign up for the exact same thing. They agree to all the same exact rules. And I don't know if it's because this happened to me for like a language thing that I'm noticing it now. But now I'm noticing a lot like language that's worse than what I used. That's like abusive and harassment or whatever the rule they got me for. I've noticed racial slurs that don't get instant nuked. The C-bomb, which is what I think got me, what ultimately was that I used a C-bomb in my string of curse words.
I agree with that. I think that's what got you.
I've seen and language, like violent language, talking about I want to do things to this person, that involve taking your life. So like I've seen language worse than what I used, in my opinion. And I don't even think it's close. That hasn't gotten anybody banned, or that these particular people haven't gotten banned for. So as the fact that we all agree to the same rules and they arbitrarily enforce them, based on their own whims, that bothers me. I don't know what the perfect libertarian answer is to a situation like this, because on the one hand, I know for a fact, and this is going to sound like arrogant, but any libertarian knows this, but anytime a company gets so big, you can trace it back to some sort of state involvement, whether it's like regulatory capture IP.
100%.
It's literally not even, it's 100% of the time. So it sounds like if you told that to like a normie, like just some Democrat or some regular old Republican that's like, yeah, we have to have copyright law, they would think you're just being an ass. But I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's 100% of the time. So there are certain things that I don't know the answer to. I know Jesse Kelly, he's a good, like generally good conservative. I'm sure he's really
and he's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. He's like, he mentioned stuff like, because he's got libertarian sympathies, so he's like, so the libertarianism is the end goal. It's not the pathway. So like he says, the government should be involved in some things that libertarians often don't. Which a good libertarian rarely thinks government should be involved in anything, if any at all. But I could see,
hopefully never.
Yeah, right. Hopefully never. But I could see where somebody would say, okay, they made this mess, they have to unmake it. I don't know though. It's very difficult for me.
Yeah, I look at it. I suppose I look at it in I don't know. I don't really know how I would say that I look at it. I guess because from a libertarian standpoint, I suppose obviously I'm a huge proponent, just like you would be, just like any of our friends or colleagues in this particular industry would be, or ideology. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Would be that the free market will work out the free market. The problem is that's not what we have.
It hasn't been a free market since 1840 or whatever.
No, because
nothing has.
What's legitimate free market in America is actually called the black market.
Right.
And they try to throw all those people in prison.
That's right.
And so that's a big problem to me. And so when it comes down to like these giant tech companies, people go, well, what do you think? And I'm like, well, I mean, they're not private companies. They're just not. Like they get all this extra special treatment bullshit that comes from the government, whatever. And it's like, so it's a multiple tiered problem. I would like to see these companies have to compete individually without any special protections or anything. And they just have to go at it, I feel like Facebook, YouTube, I feel like they'd all lose if it was a free for all.
Well, at least they couldn't get away with the shit they get away with now. With the way they treat certain people on their platforms. And the big thing that's always like,
YouTube's not going to ban Ryan Dawson in a free for all because BitChute's going to pay Ryan Dawson to come to BitChute.
Yeah, and they know that, and they'll have competition. It's the same old thing with literally any other market. Just apply that to this. And what the big 230. That's what I was gonna talk about. The big like linchpin or point of the focal point a lot of the time in this conversation is Section 230, which is an expansion of a previous legislation. Drew Hancock has a great video on this. And that's actually where I learned most of this stuff about it. And the thing about what Article 230 or Section 230 is, I keep saying article for some reason. But what Section 230 does is it basically, in short, and this is biased coming from somebody who doesn't like the big tech companies, so it's obviously biased. So take it for what you will. Take it with a grain of salt if you need to. You, the listener,
or a whole bag.
Yeah. So it allows basically companies to either claim that they're a publisher when it's handy for them, or claim that they're a platform when it works in their favor. So in other words, if somebody's on Twitter posting, minor,
calling someone a cunt, for instance.
Well, I was gonna say something more like minor. I don't want to say the words because I don't want to get you in trouble here on YouTube, but explicit content involving minors, let's say.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, then Twitter is using Section 230 to say, well, no, we're not the publisher, we're just the platform. You got to go after that one person who did that, not us. Now, if there was somebody, if they want to play it that way, then they would have to remain neutral for things like the Hunter Biden laptop story. Then they wouldn't be able to just kick people off of their platforms and not be sued for it. So
Right.
they use both hands. They say, oh, we're a publisher here, but we're a platform here. Whichever one fits them best. And that's kind of what Section 230 has a lot of them do. I don't know if like repealing Section 230 would be the answer to that. I know it's way more complicated than just that, but that is ultimately the linchpin of all these arguments is Section 230.
It 100% is, and the situation is, and this is where I run afoul with some people is like Trump used to say we got to repeal Section 230. I think that's a mistake.
Okay.
I don't think repeal is the right. I mean, if you're going to, then sure, but repeal all law.
That's right.
FCC
That's right.
and everything. Fucking repeal it all. People can say anything they want on the airwaves. Free speech for everybody 100% of the time, right? But if you're going to try to hold these things where it's like, okay, well, whatever gets said on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, it doesn't matter the platform, is they're free from it. Then if I don't know that repeal's the right way, as opposed to you are insulated, but you're also not allowed to limit speech so long as it doesn't violate law would maybe be the better way to handle that particular situation. And take away this where they get to determine if it's good or bad speech. You know what I mean? Because that's where you wind up with this nonsensical hate speech garbage that's like, oh, well, it's hate speech. And I'm like, eat a dick. That doesn't mean anything. You can go fuck yourself. I've been attacked for my introduction to this show. Okay.
Really?
And yes, I've had people come at me for the introduction and they're like, well, you're making fun of trans people. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm inclusive.
What?
Like literally,
Okay.
I'm inclusive. Those of you on the fence that don't know, right? I'm inclusive. I'm trying to include everybody in the conversation. Y'all have thoughts, opinions, whatever, bring them. I'm good. You know what I mean? But I've been attacked for it and saying that that's what I'm doing. And I'm like, well, fuck you. You know what I mean? It's really irritating to me, and I don't understand what that's about. But Ronwell, I'm gonna push back on you. I don't like your particular pick there.
I mean, Jesse Ventura?
I like Jesse Ventura. I just think he's too old and out of touch now to be able to be effective in this particular situation. But I know you like him because you're a wrestling god. So good for you, Ronwell.
I'm not a big fan of Jesse Ventura just because of the whole thing that happened with Opie and Anthony. If you're familiar with that, I don't know. Yeah,
that's fair. I am aware of that. But Ronwell is he's an exceptional person, and he also is like a wrestling. I don't know what word to use. Fanatic,
like aficionado.
And he's also, from my understanding, very good at it.
Who's McKinney? Do you know who that is? Because I don't know who that is.
I don't know McKinney. Ronwell may be able to inform us as to who that person is, or we can just do a little digging right quick.
I'm guessing it's a wrestling person.
I don't know. Maybe not. Okay. So we kind of got sidetracked there because, that's what this show is we derail. So inflation is actually it's ramping. It's already up, but it's ramping up. People don't seem to want to acknowledge what's happening there, Nick. So this is a weird situation because you're not actually, I guess, what's weird? You're not allowed to give financial advice to people, but Dr. Numbnuts Fauci can go on TV and give medical advice to people on TV. That seems fucking retarded. Like, I can't tell him buy Bitcoin, but he can tell him to go get a vaccine. He's fucking retarded. Anyway, inflation is ramping up, and it's 100% going to get a lot worse. And I've been informed by some members of my audience, and so I am going specifically to speak to them. Yes, I believe anyone capable of it should have a garden, should be able to get some, like, if you can get some chickens, get some, whatever you can get farm animal wise, pigs, cows, anything you can do that to protect yourselves, at least as far as your food supply goes. Obviously, the garden is the easiest that anyone can basically do, but for certain, do the very best that you can with any kind of those circumstances. Now, that away from the point, what do you think, Nick? How's inflation going to affect us in the next year?
I am legitimately scared. I think, and I know like people into like Austrian. I'm not an economist. I don't have a degree. I just do a lot of listening and reading. So like, I don't claim to be an economist. Obviously, it's just I love economics. I love reading about it and listening to stuff about it. So the thing about like in Austrians, like Peter Schiff is probably the most notable example of this. Is that he'll like say that a crash is coming and the crash is coming and the crash is coming, and you know eventually
and then eventually it will happen.
He kind of has to be right, but so he gets a little overzealous with it. But I am afraid that what's happening is going to be probably worse than 08. And the thing is, like, they know that they cannot infinitely print money. They know they can't. They know that they cannot just keep interest rates down as low as they've been. They know that they cannot. And the old saw is, and this is how it always works, is the longer you let it go, and then whenever they eventually try to let the interest rate fix itself, that's whenever everybody defaults on their loans, everybody loses their house. That's when the big crash is. And then what do? They try to stimulate more, so they make the problem worse. They draw it out. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
But look what just happened. Okay, we had a whole year where a lot of people some people had no income, where they had dual income household. Some people had like next to no income except for maybe the boosted up unemployment that was given out. So it's about a few $600 a week. So imagine going from
6 and then it dropped to 3, but
they dropped it back down. So, that the whole year, and I don't say COVID or the pandemic caused it, the government caused this shit. This did not have to happen. So the government put everybody that, a lot of people out of work, printed off a bunch of money to subsidize this heightened up unemployment, and to subsidize, to give out these measly $1,400 checks or however much it was whenever they gave them out.
Yeah.
Also, all the like 90% of the spending that was in the latest quote unquote COVID relief bill was given to special interests in foreign countries. So like
that's
10%
all of it. Like fucking 5 bills. I think to the tune of about $6.1 trillion.
Yeah, literally, they just create this money out of nowhere. So the reason I think it's going to be worse than 2008 is because so many people are already on incredibly shaky foundations in terms of their finances. Like it like you just said, the wealth transfer, the biggest wealth transfer ever. Like people have lost their businesses. People have already lost their homes. People are going to be losing their homes regardless of an economic crash, because
it's going to get much worse
because of the moratorium on evictions, right?
Yeah,
that's gone.
That's about to go away, and then it's game set match.
All of the whole year that we just had, plus worse expansion of the money supply than was in previously. Worse economic conditions than were leading up to 2008. I think it's going to be a lot worse, and I'm not scared for myself or my wife. Like, I'm not scared for us, because we're okay. We both have.
You figured shit out,
well, not exactly, but she's an engineer. I'm a mechanic. Like, no matter what happens, we'll be able to find decent.
Well, yeah, you got to be able to, like, people need their crap fixed and people need their crap built.
Yeah,
so and you'll figure it out.
Right. So I'm not too worried about us. Plus, like our worst case scenario, that like our absolute rock bottom. My wife and we don't have any kids. We have a few pets. We don't have any kids yet. But our and I'm thankful for this. But our rock bottom is I got to go live with my parents. which that's
Yeah.
some people's step one when bad shit happens. That's my like absolute last resort is going back to live with my parents.
Right.
So we're incredibly fortunate in that aspect. But I'm very scared for the future of this country. I'm very
And
scared
that's
for like,
after he sells all those guitars hanging on the wall
right.
behind him.
That's after we get rid of everything. Then it's like, all right, Dad.
Then it's
help
like,
me out."
all right, damn it. All right, so Ronwell got back to us on this, so let's take that. Cynthia McKinney is one of female congresswomen from Georgia. Okay, then I do know who you're talking about there.
I live in Georgia and I've never heard of her. I'm sorry. I'm not up
No,
on my
I know who knew. Yeah, I still think you're wrong in that, Ronwell. No, you know, I'm not trying to like call you out there. I just don't think that works. I don't think that's a reasonable expectation of anyone paying attention to them. You know, running for governor, he maybe pulled that off, but that was a long time ago. He's out of the game. It's not going to matter. You need someone young, vibrant, and loud. We have some that we're going to be able to shove into the forefront now and really prop them up. Apparently Dave Smith is talking about maybe he's one of those guys. Like him or not, he is loud and vibrant and good looking, and he can pull it off. Like, and he can really get people talking.
Yeah, he also, not only does he know his shit, but he knows how to present the information to people that don't know their shit.
Right,
so
right.
That's
and there's others. Justin Amash he's nobody's fool. The dude understands politics. He's young. He's good looking. He's a vibrant guy. He can get a lot of stuff going. So you know, I don't think that. I'm just going to disagree with you on this one, Ronwell. Although I absolutely really did like Jesse Ventura, and I think he's a great dude. But I also think Jesse likes Mexico, and he wants to stay there. So we're gonna agree to disagree on that. But so final question, Nick, because this is one of the things that I have noticed that seems to be the weirdest things with libertarians, and I don't understand why. Like it's crazy to me, but gun rights, in my reading, is shall not be infringed seems pretty reasonable. Like it seems pretty like matter of fact. Like it doesn't seem to matter, but apparently it seems to matter even in libertarian circles. So I mean, if you're going to be the VP candidate, because eventually we're going to actually be the top one in that poll.
That's right, not the bottom one.
yeah, we're not going to bottom out. We're going to be like top, like fucking Reed cheated when he used Ace Archist. Obviously, everybody knows that.
The beloved. I love that guy. I'm so excited to meet him.
Oh yeah,
Childeberg. You going to Childeberg?
No, I'm not. Unfortunately, I've got way too much shit going on my end of things. But
yeah, I was just barely able to make
which
it.
we will discuss after we're done here. But yeah. So, what are your thoughts on that? Because one of the things I've noticed is that libertarians there is some difference between us when it comes to libertarian anarchists. There's some differences when it comes to what does the Second Amendment mean? Or really, fuck the Second Amendment. Doesn't even matter. The Constitution's a useless document. Just our own rights.
Yeah, I kind of take the Lysander Spooner approach. Is like the Constitution is basically an illegitimate document. However, something a lot of people that always cite Spooner and evoke Spooner forget is that he also made it a point, and this is a good way to look at it because I think you need to keep this in mind, is that if you signed or swore an oath to uphold what is written in the Constitution and you do not do that, you should be held liable for that. So the Constitution and the way that it works with our
Back
government.
in the day, you could be executed.
Right. It's illiteral treason. Right.
Yeah.
So the Constitution and knowing the Constitution is useful as a tool to basically metaphorically roll it up and club over knock over the head of the people who are supposed to enforce that doctrine, enforce that document and uphold it and protect it. Is that what they swear? Do you swear to, protect and uphold the Constitution? That's what everyone swears in an office on a Bible or whatever. So if they don't do that as constituents, you need to make as much noise as possible to let them know, like, you're not supposed to do that. Now, if we're just talking about rights, sick of picking the lesser two. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So do I, Ronwell. You're right on that one. Sorry, bud.
No, that's fine. My stance on like gun rights is I want whatever, like as it stands now, and I've gotten into Twitter arguments over this, like because I'm dumb and I can't let things go. Is I want whatever the government has to be able to protect myself.
I feel like that's fair.
Them. Yeah, and it's not even like, because the thing that I always say is like owning an item is not a crime. Like if I own nuclear weapons and they're just sitting there in my backyard, it's not a crime to just have them.
No.
If
and it shouldn't be.
Yeah, if you think that you need to have, this goes for anybody, if you're a state actor or not, if you're a regular civilian, if you're in the FBI, if you're in the CIA, if you're a local sheriff, if you think that you should require background checks, if you think that you should require a concealed carry permit to carry the weapon on you hidden,
well, then you're already in violation of your oath.
Then you do not believe that people have the right to protect themselves. And the reason is nobody requires permission to protect themselves. So if you're saying, no, you need my permission to carry that implement, what you're saying is you should require permission from a certain special, enlightened group of people that to own something with the implementation with which you'll protect yourself. That's what you're saying. So you don't believe in self-protection. You don't believe in self-defense. You don't believe in self-protection, if that's your stance. So I say, forget all of that shit. Like I said, the Constitution is useful to roll up like a newspaper and knock over the head of the dumbass politicians that are supposed to uphold it. But if you believe in any of that, if you believe in background checks, if you believe in literally anything that requires a state act, like a state actor's permission to own any kind of weapon, you don't believe in self-protection. That's all. That's my stance, and I'm not budging.
I say all the time, Nick, that all gun laws up to and including background checks are in violation of the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Now, I also know that the U.S. Constitution is a ridiculous, useless piece of paper. Right. That the paper is actually worth more than the words printed on it, because hundreds of years have proven it. But if you want to tell me, I'm a strict constitutionalist.
That's right.
Game. All right. Then that means that every single gun law, up to and including background checks, is in violation of the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. And when people... And it's actually really effective against conservatives, I've realized. Right. Conservatives and Republicans. I found that it's extraordinarily, and more so lately, strangely enough. I mean, really kind of going back to like the latter days of Obama, but even through Trump, I was starting to get more traction with them. That it's like, whoa, no. And so one of the things that I would say to them is they'd say law-abiding citizens. And I go, what does that mean? Yeah. Right? And they go, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, no. What do you mean law-abiding? Right? And they're like, well, not felons. And I go, where's that say that in the Second Amendment? Mm-hmm. Well, like, you explain to me where it says,
except if you're a felon,
infringed unless, where was the small print? Like, can we get to the small print that you somehow believe is in there that's not in there, right? Mm-hmm. So I've actually found a great deal of feedback from these people that are like, oh shit, yeah, you're not entirely wrong. Now, I think part of that comes from the fact that the left is going after guns.
Right,
hard
for sure.
now.
Yeah.
And so now the right's like, we don't know what to do. And so, but this is a perfect opportunity, in my opinion. And I'm going to get your opinion on this. But in my opinion, I think the Libertarian Party, first of all, I think the Libertarian Party this entire year, at least from a national perspective, completely fucking dropped the ball.
They blew it.
We had such an opportunity to just light it up, and just get so many people to be like, nope, these guys, let's go with these men and women, these people understand, we completely fucking dropped the ball on that. Not we, like I'm sure me and you were on the same page, but so that got fucked. But that's the thing, is that I'm starting to see an opportunity with a lot of these people where I can talk to them and go, no, wait. Why do you see it this way? You know what I mean? Like, you're supposed to be the Republican in for argument's sake, right? You're the Republican. You're supposed to care about the Second Amendment. Mm-hmm. Where in the Second Amendment does it say that it has to be this specific guidance? It doesn't say that. It literally says this thing shall not be infringed. You explain it to me, and they can't, and it fucks with their brain.
And I have like a couple of tactics for dealing with, depending on who you're dealing with. Like, for example, a big argument that people always like your dummy conservative will say is like they act like police won't enforce certain gun laws. Oh, they're not gonna come for the guns. Okay. Well, if you're confronted with a conservative or a Republican,
they're arresting you for opening your business.
Well, but not even that though. Just be like, ask them if they own any automatic weapons and see if they can put it together. It's like, why don't you own any automatic weapons? How about you? Pray tell. Think about that, But also,
why didn't you switch that AK-47 you got for the 1 and 13 cents that it would cost?
Right. Like you and if they could put it together, good for them. But the other thing with conservatives is like, they recognize, the funny thing about it, it's ironic that they can recognize like, oh, the government, in their rhetoric at least, the government doesn't like you, they're not your friend. Okay. Who's the person deciding whether you're a felon or not?
Yeah.
Who are the people you're letting the people that you already say
who is the Praetorian Guard?
Like you're letting them dictate the terms upon which you can own the weapon you so cherish. Do you want to give that away to anybody, let alone people that you're supposed to hate? Come on. Like the background check thing. Like whenever they give away the background check thing, like they say, we like the NRA, we support background checks. And like the what's, I don't know his name. He has like a friend, Wayne LaPierre. Yeah. He had said, if all of the current gun laws were enforced, we wouldn't have shootings. This was around the time where
this was like 6 months ago.
A little while ago, right? But he was that's what he said. Like if all the current gun laws were enforced, then we wouldn't have shootings like X, Y, or Z. But it's like, okay, who like the gun laws that who is determining? And the people, do you see what I'm saying? And conservatives
for sure.
This is your big guy. This is your NRA guy. This is, and then for the left, there's a couple of things here. There's a few, like, if you, and this is kind of a rarity, but on Twitter anything is possible.
That's true.
You will occasionally see somebody with a hammer and sickle, like a black and red flag in their banner, or a black and red flag in the profile picture with a hammer and sickle emoji in the name, calling for gun legislation. And it's like, literally Marx said, under no pretense shall the working class, I don't remember exactly the quote, but he was basically saying like,
under no pretense should the working class ever give up their weapons and or ammo,
right,
as they will be necessary in the future.
It's like, how are you going to have a working class revolution? Yeah,
it's a Second Amendment. It's just from Marx.
Now, if you're dealing with like a typical progressive, and who are the worst pretty much people in my opinion is that something that they're decent at, like on certain civil liberties is felons. They make a good point that if you're a felon, it shouldn't be that hard for you to come back and adjust to normal life. Like in terms of coming back and getting a job, it's difficult for and that's true. Look, if you're like I'm not that much of a bleeding heart, but I have sympathy for the people that like maybe they were on a bad path and now it's fucked up that they can't come out. And
felony doesn't mean what a lot of people think it does.
That's right. You could be and for like victimless crimes like drugs or anything.
You can still be a felon, and it's like, oh well, they're a felon, and I'm like,
you've never been violent.
It's not like they did a terrible thing to a small child. Right. We don't know. Like, I mean, there are levels.
Of course, and so progressives are sometimes good on that, where they'll say you should be able to get back your rights after you've served your prison sentence. Because
agree with that.
Why would they let you back out if they didn't think you were okay to good to go? Which that's important. Like as a libertarian, I think we need to recognize that that's a good principle that the left typically has. However, they're not good about that when it comes to gun ownership.
No.
So
they want you to vote but not own a weapon.
That's what I always say. You can do way more damage by voting than you can with an AR-15.
Oh, for sure, bro.
And the reason is, I mean, if you voted for people that wanted to invade Iraq, or like let's go back and let's say like bombing Kosovo, in the Clinton administration, anything that a politician does that you vote in is infinitely more. Like there's the potential for damage and lives lost and everything is infinitely more than one person could do with a single mass shooting. The single most, and I know.
And you're going to like this baby little game of Kosovo as opposed to Bush,
exactly,
Obama, Trump.
Like, I'm talking about somebody that the progressives typically like is Clinton.
Yeah.
And I know. I'm going to talk about the Vegas shooting for a second. Believe me.
Okay.
I know. Trust me, I know. But let's just say the one guy killed. Let's say, what is it? 50-something people. Injured a bunch.
56, I believe it was, and injured 114 more or some shit.
That's a drop in the bucket when you're talking about the military action taken by the United States government that you voted in. So yes. you want to be able to vote for these people who do that. But you don't want felons to be able to own a firearm because...
Not to mention that man was not a felon.
Right, but you get what I'm saying. Like, you can do infinitely more damage by voting than you can with firearm ownership. It's not even close.
100% agree with you in that particular art. 100%. I do. And here's the thing is that, first of all, I don't know. Voting's fucking retarded. Democracy is stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Like you and like 50 of your friends get to tell me and 48 of my friends how we have to live. Eat a dick.
Exactly.
Like that's ridiculous. It's the dumbest form of shit we've ever come up with. It doesn't make any sense, but I do 100% agree with you on the fact that voting is far more dangerous than owning a firearm.
Mm-hmm. And not to mention, the progressives can be good on cops sometimes. But
True.
Who's, of course, the people, the racist cops that you hate so bad, they're the ones who are going to have all the guns. If we had it your way, the people that you hate, again,
all the cops are racist and they're just hunting down black people, but we should take away all the guns and only cops should have guns. And I'm this seems really dangerous. Let's not do that.
That's right. Even if you believe that, even if that were true, you especially don't want that to be the case.
Okay, but it's also not true.
Of course,
right. I mean, look, I'm not even trying to play the white guy card here, and the more white people are killed or whatever. No, I'm not even doing that. I'm just saying it's fucking retarded argument, and it doesn't make any sense.
Well, they did like this poll where they asked like these people how many black people they think, how many unarmed black people they thought were shot, and like half of them answered over 1,000.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I shouldn't have brought this up, but there was a poll. And the thing about polls is I've never even taken a poll. So you don't know who they're asking these
Twitter
questions.
polls.
But just, there was some, you could.
I did take a poll about chocolate one time where people called me. No, I mean, it's for real. They were like, "Oh, what's your favorite like candy bars?"
Interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, there was, I don't know if it was AP or Reuters or one of these big ones, but they had just asked like, how many black folks do you think have been shot by the police this past year, or unarmed black folks? And it was like 47%, I believe was the number, answered 1,000 or more. So people really don't know, right? And you're basing what your policy prescriptions would be for any issue on things you have no idea about. Yeah, you know. That's why voting is dangerous right there.
Yeah, that's terrifying. And not to mention that when you have when things start to get as dangerous as they've gotten over the last few years, and now I guess we can call it a couple of years, because it really started back in March of last year. It started really, I mean, I guess the boiler got turned on. And then, the Floyd situation really set it off. But
yeah,
we're in a really weird situation, and people have been just completely monkeyed with, and they don't know what's going on, and that's a big damn problem. And unfortunately, there's no real way to get through to these fucking people, that's actually dangerous in my opinion. Like they're being told things that aren't true, and anyway, well, Nick, we are well over our hour, because that's awesome, because anytime you have a good conversation, you always lose track of time.
Go long, that's right. Yep.
Yeah. This has been really cool. Why don't you tell everyone where to get at you, where to find you, how to support you, and also stop getting thrown off Twitter, bro.
I'm trying. Just my podcast, the Individualist Podcast, it's on Anchor as the main hosting site. You could find my website, individualistpodcast.com. If you want to go to just straight to the Anchor, the website is, sorry, just 1 second. I'm on Anchor right now. No, I clicked the wrong link.
I was trying to put stuff in the description for they can find you, and you suck at getting yourself out there.
Well, my Anchor link is anchor.fm/Nick-Ashley, spelled exactly how you see it here.
Okay.
And individualistpodcast.com. You can find me on Twitter. It's been scrolling down there at the bottom, Nick_individual. Hopefully this one will last. I'll make it as long. Try to make this one last as long as I can, at least until I get word back on my appeal for my original account. I'm hoping to get that back again. It's a bummer.
Yeah, you had a lot going on there. That's where I first got introduced. But until then, hit that Twitter, that scroll bar. It's also in the description. Catch him on that. Get in touch with this guy. He's a smart guy. He's also funny, and he likes to push the envelope. And that's what we all need. We all need to push the envelope. So stop being a bunch of pussies and push the envelope, because it's the only way we fight back. So, y'all, peace.
Thank you very much.